not sure that this is going to work, this whole interview or this whole YouTube thing on my phone, but I'm irate. I'm irate at the Denver fucking Broncos because you end up hiring this old guy, Vic Fangio. He sucks. Every single year, you think that you're a good football team, but you truly suck. 2015 isn't coming back anytime soon. John Elway needs to get his head out of his damn ass. He thinks that this is an elite-level football team. This team is a damn joke. It's a joke from the top down with Vic Fangio and this organization and this roster. It's sickening to lose by 30 points to a Buffalo team that is coming on the road, and Buffalo already has their season in the bag. You're hosting a home game. You suck. Vic Fangio is old. He offers nothing to the table. He was an average defensive coordinator. Same with Vance Joseph. John Elway keeps on hiring these rat old coaches, and Vic Fangio had the audacity to get rid of Rich Scangarello when the team went 3-1 last year, and when Drew Lock was progressing, to hire old Pat Shurmur because he had 1 year with Case Keenum as the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. He had one fucking year when they went 13-3, and he had one miracle play to Stephon Diggs. One play. He hit one play to Stephon Diggs. He's a shitty coordinator, and he was a horrible football coach. And he hired the worst defensive coordinator, James Bettcher. Nobody would have hired Shurmur. He would have went back to coaching Division II football if not for dumbass Vic Fangio. And dumbass John Elway, who signs Jerry Jeudy and passes up on Justin Jefferson for Jerry Jeudy. And Jerry Jeudy cannot get open at all, and all Jerry does is go on Twitter and rip the starting quarterback. Jerry Jeudy, again, you really think that that's a great draft pick? Your number one special talent ripping the starting quarterback of the football team on social media and Twitter. This team is a dumpster fire. They played well against Carolina, and then they came back and they shit the bed today by 40 points. You need to hire Joe Brady, an offensive coordinator with a personality like Kevin O'Connell or Joe Brady. You have Drew Lock, who is one of the more talented quarterbacks in all of NFL football, and you have to move on from this old, archaic piece of shit, which is Pat Shurmur. And you go out there and you sign Melvin Gordon, and Melvin Gordon is horrible. He's getting DUIs. He's fumbling the football. He's a train wreck. All it does is stunt Philip Lindsay's development. That's all it's doing with Melvin Gordon. You sign Noah Fant, and then you think you're so good, John Elway, that you're going to go and sign Albert O because you think your team is so damn good. You have enough wide receivers. It's time you develop linebacker play. It's time you develop a defensive pass rush. For goodness sakes, this defense sucks. And the fact is, with the Denver Broncos, Drew Lock is a talented quarterback. He threw for 50 touchdowns at Missouri. Everyone can see that this guy can make every throw in the game. He needs an offensive line. He needs time. What are you Denver fans going to just run off Drew Lock again? And what are you going to go sign a North Dakota State quarterback? Or look at Zach Wilson. He had 1 year of playing decent football at BYU. Let's just abandon this really good young quarterback to bring in a guy from college and just restart the circle again. No, that's not how it's going to work. You're going to hire a new offensive coordinator, and then you're going to devote your resources to the defensive line, and then you're going to get some offensive linemen, and you're going to keep Drew Lock, and Drew Lock's going to take you places that you've never dreamed of going, just like Josh Allen. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. I'm telling you that Drew Lock is the guy for the Denver Broncos. I believe in all my heart that he has the ability to lead this team. He just needs a competent offensive head coach, and this whole thing can work together. You run off Noah Fant. You look at maybe trading Jerry Jeudy in the offseason. You get back some really good offensive linemen, and you start building a power run game and a play-action game with Drew Lock as your quarterback. Because Drew Lock last year in Houston, he beat a playoff team in the Houston Texans. He beat the Miami Dolphins when he played the Miami Dolphins. He got within 3 points of the Kansas City Chiefs. He just threw for 4 touchdowns last week. He has no interceptions today. Defense gave up 48 points. Team is quitting on Vic Fangio. Drew Lock can be the guy for the Denver Broncos. You just don't need to go out there and draft another quarterback. You have a great quarterback in Denver and Drew Lock. He's going to be really, really good. And also, he's a second-round pick, so he's dirt cheap. There's no reason why you need to get rid of the quarterback in Denver. He is an elite thrower of the ball, can throw it in places that other people cannot. I mean, you look at Drew Lock against Miami, had a really good game. You look at Drew Lock earlier in the season, they should have beaten the Tennessee Titans with Drew Lock. Okay, Drew Lock last year against the Lions, against the Raiders. Guess what? Drew Lock's the damn guy at the quarterback position, and Vic Fangio is old, and he sucks. And there is no hope anymore. He should be fired right after the game. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the college football playoffs. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish are the biggest bunch of fraudulent babies that I have ever seen in my whole life. They suck. They are a terrible, terrible football team, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They are jokes. Every single year, Notre Dame people try to say that this is the year that they can compete with Clemson, Ohio State, and Alabama. It's not happening. We've watched this show before. Why do we need to see Alabama beat Notre Dame just like in the Miami 2012 National Championship game? Why do we have to see Alabama beat Notre Dame 50-7? Why? Texas A&M should be in the college football playoff. And trust me, I don't like Texas A&M, but A&M only has one loss to Alabama, and they were in that game in the third quarter at Alabama when Alabama had their starting quarterback. Notre Dame beat Clemson when 4 guys were out, and they also beat Clemson in overtime with a true freshman backup quarterback. Okay? And today with Trevor Lawrence, Notre Dame got absolutely smoked by the Clemson Tigers today on a neutral field when Clemson had their starting quarterback. You're supposed to be playing your best football at the end of the year. Not the beginning of the year, but the end of the year. And that is the reason why the Texas A&M Aggies need to be in the playoff over Notre Dame, because Notre Dame only beat Louisville by 5. You look at North Carolina lost to Florida State. They're not even that good. The ACC, Miami, is a garbage team. The whole ACC is garbage. Okay? Notre Dame didn't do anything special this year. And you look at Texas A&M. They went on the road to Auburn and won. They beat an LSU team. They beat talented teams. They beat the Florida Gators. Heads up, a really good Florida team with Kyle Trask at quarterback. Texas A&M beat that team. The Aggies need to be in the playoffs, and the Aggies would give Alabama a better game the second go-around. The Aggies are more physical up front. They run the football, and they have a coach in Jimbo Fisher that's actually won a national championship, and they've been for the SEC gauntlet. You look at the athletes at LSU. You even look at Arkansas. You look at, like, Missouri. You look at the teams in the SEC West, and again, the teams are just better in the SEC West. Even Mississippi State is better than what you're going to be seeing in the ACC. Notre Dame, again, shits the bed, embarrasses themselves. They're a fraud, and they do not deserve to be in the college football playoff. It wasn't even closer than 24 points. It could have been a 40-point blowout if Clemson kept gunning them out. I'll tell you, Notre Dame is a bad team. Guess what? You know what it is? You know what? Ian Book is Ian freaking Book. You know why they're ranked high? Because they're Notre Dame, because they have a national audience, because they have their own television network. That's why. And because they went undefeated in a terrible conference, but they pay the most money. You look at Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina would beat Notre Dame pretty badly. You look at teams like even San Jose State get no respect. No respect. Other than Clemson, Notre Dame has beaten nobody. And the fact is, Texas A&M beat Auburn. They beat Florida. Those are 2 better teams than Notre Dame has beaten all year. You look at LSU. LSU just beat Florida. So that is the point. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills. This is the time for the Buffalo Bills to be the NFL champions. This is their Super Bowl team. This is the time for the Buffalo Bills because this is the best year. Josh Allen's playing the best football of his career. He should be top 3 in the MVP voting. He is at peak of power. Stephon Diggs is healthy. This is the time for the Buffalo Bills that they should be the world champions of the NFL. It's them and it's the Kansas City Chiefs for the world championship. The Pittsburgh Steelers have fallen off. The Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Browns aren't that good. Drew Lock is freaking awesome. I mean, you're going to go back and say, yep, you're right. Your Drew Lock is really, really good. Right now, Drew Lock's, he's going to have 2 coaches that are going to be fired. I mean, it's ridiculous. But the thing that's going to happen with Buffalo is Buffalo's great, and this is the year for the Buffalo Bills. This is the year for the Buffalo Bills, and the thing is about the Buffalo Bills is that it sucks that the NFL boned them this year. The NFL threw a wrench to them because the NFL says that the NFL is just hungry, money, greedy pigs. That's what they are. And instead of Buffalo getting a bye week, Buffalo gets nothing for being 13-3 and being like the second best team in the NFL by a mile. The Bills have to play on opening weekend against like a 10-6 and they can't even get a bye week. With how well they played, they can't even get an off week, and the NFL's going to jam 3 games down your throat of playoff football on Saturday and then Sunday, and you're going to get like 8-8 and 9-7 garbage going into the playoffs. And you know what the people are going to do? We're going to watch it, and we're going to say, it's more football is always a good thing. That's not necessarily true. 16 games is perfect, and the bye week needs to be reinstated. The fact that the Bills don't get a bye week is absolutely disgraceful in every metric of the law because they are, once again, 13-3 this season, having their best year, and they need that bye week because they deserve that advantage. And instead of opening up the playoffs to everybody, you're devaluing the regular season. The thing is about Drew Lock, and the reason that we can compare Drew Lock and Daniel Jones is Drew Lock has big play potential. He has a big arm. He makes high-level, big-level throws. He's taken over games before. He took over that Carolina Panthers game last week. He took over the Houston Texans game. And at Missouri, he was fantastic. But the thing is about Lock is really, really good. And I'll tell you this, too. Well, also, you guys at Missouri, you guys are starting, a quarterback at safety. You guys have a lot of COVID numbers. But the point is Missouri had a really good year. You should be happy with Eli Drinkwitz. He's probably the SEC Coach of the Year if it's not Nick Saban. But going back to my initial point, Daniel Jones shows no signs of high upside. He had one really good game against the Eagles, but Drew Lock plays for a terrible defense, a terrible head coach, and he doesn't have the offensive linemen that the New York Giants have. And Drew Lock also didn't start that much last year. I mean, he only played like the last 4 games. He was injured, and then he was injured this year. So we've seen Daniel Jones play tons of football, and he just never wins at a decent level. You also look at Drew Lock's division. Drew Lock plays against Kansas City, plays against the Raiders, and the Chargers are a really stingy team with Justin Herbert. Daniel Jones can't even beat Andy Dalton. He can barely beat the Washington football team. He can barely beat the Philadelphia Eagles. So he is not a high upside quarterback, and he is a turnover machine fumbling the football. So Daniel Jones, I mean, the thing is about Daniel Jones is he hasn't proven to me that he can be the franchise quarterback. And I don't believe in Daniel Jones' skill set. He can't throw the ball deep down the field. And Octavius, you're right. I am excited to see Colt McCoy tomorrow because the locker room responds to Colt McCoy in a way that the locker room does not respond to Daniel Jones. The locker room does not respond to Daniel Jones. Also, Jason Garrett's a damn traitor. Jason Garrett is like Benedict Arnold circa 1250. Freddie Kitchens needs to be the offensive coordinator of the New York Giants, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why Freddie Kitchens, because Jason Garrett is a rat. He's a traitor, and he's a bully. But the thing is about Jason Garrett is he has that little smirk on his face. He secretly hates Joe